free. May we all be free.
Hello and welcome everybody to the second day of this annual mega event, Muktotsav 2022. A one-of-a-kind celebration probably unheard of in any corner of the world. This is Dr. Durya Shipchandler on behalf of Freedom from Diabetes, extending a warm and hearty welcome to each and every one of you who have joined us live this evening from across the country and across the world to witness and partake in this one-of-a-kind mega festival of freedom, Muktotsav 2022, in its 8th edition this year. I also welcome our esteemed guests, both stalwarts from Cleveland Clinic, USA, who have so kindly agreed to grace the event today and share their valuable time and expertise with us. We have our chief guest this evening, Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn, who's Director, Heart Disease Reversal Program at Cleveland Clinic Center of Wellness and Preventive Medicine, and our guest of honor, Dr. Aravinda, Director of Peripheral Vascular Intervention, Cardiovascular Division, Cleveland Clinic. Well, yesterday was day one and a lot of celebration happened. We had 375 people who were names announced. They were our freedom champions, warriors, who went on to clear their IGT and GTT. We had 173 of them clearing their IGT and 203 clearing their GTT, that's the glucose tolerance test. And we had more than 219 people who had lost more than 15 kilos of weight. Well, that was for day one. And today there are some more awards flowing in. We have 108 awards being conferred upon champions in various categories and followed by some insightful talks by our guests this evening. So without much ado, let's get moving and let's invite Dr.Pramod, the pioneer of diabetes reversal in India and the founder of Freedom from Diabetes movement, a doctor, innovator, healer, motivational speaker, and above all, a humanist. Well, he is a man with a vision and a mission to free 100,000 people from diabetes by 2025, and not without the effort and support of a team of more than 180 people. Well, he's armed with a medical degree from Pune's reputed BJ Medical College and also holds a professional diploma in diabetes management from Nanavati Hospital, Mumbai, proficient in yoga and Ayurveda as well as in neuro-linguistic programming. He has innovated and perfected an integrated protocol over the last 9 years that has created some of the magical freedom stories that we saw yesterday and shall also see today. So I invite Dr. Pramod Tripathi, sir.
Thank you so much, Dr. Duria. And for everyone's knowledge, Dr. Duria has been with us for a good 7 years, taking care of the residential program single-handedly. She's called the mother of the program. And her husband is called the father of the program. And they do such an amazing job in terms of Heart Connect over there. In 7 nights and 8 days, everyone goes back touched and transformed. She's a doctor, and she's, I think, the 4th doctor with us since now last 7-8 years. And now I move on to introducing the big names that we've been looking forward for. We have none other than the 88-year-young Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn, the Director of Heart Disease Reversal Program at the Cleveland Clinic Center of Wellness and Preventive Medicine. He is an American physician, author, and former Olympic rowing champion. That's something huge for a physician, with 150 scientific publications under his belt, and there's a benchmark long-term nutritional research in 1995 which talked about arresting and reversing coronary artery disease in severely ill patients, which is now one of the longest longitudinal studies of its type. Amazing awards, known across the world, doesn't really need introduction. Books have been read by all of us as doctors who have taken the path of reversal, and Yale University has given the George H.W. Bush 48 Lifetime of Leadership Award in 2013, the American College of Lifestyle Medicine 2016, and Lifetime Achievement Award in 2016. So hearty welcome, Dr. Caldwell, on the screen. We are so thrilled, honored, and humbled with your presence. Dr. Caldwell, you're there on the camera. You just need to say hi to everyone. They are looking forward. Yes, lovely. Great to have your hand go up. And after your introduction, I would like to quickly introduce Dr. Aravinda. The surname is a big tongue twister. Nanjundappa. Okay. He's been following FMD for a long time. Family members of Dr. Aravinda have benefited from the program, and he is the Director of Peripheral Vascular Intervention at the Cardiovascular Division of the Cleveland Clinic, with 22 years experience as an interventional cardiologist, authored 8 books, 170 publications, a marathon and triathlon enthusiast, and promotes the main thing which helps all of us become healthy: diet, exercise, and reduce stress to treat heart disease. And because heart disease and diabetes are like brothers and sisters, they walk hand in hand. Research has proven already that even before you get diabetes, 5 to 10 years before that, heart issues have begun. We welcome Dr. Aravinda on the stage right now. Dr. Aravinda, you're on the camera. Could you just say hi to everyone? Thank you so much for joining in from US, both of you. We are so happy to have you here. So the flow of the program is going to be as follows. We will be having some awards, 108 awards being announced with the numbers that Dr. Duria will take us through as to what's the latest statistics of freedom status at FFD. And this will go on for around maybe 20 more minutes, followed by a nice 40+ minute talk by Dr. Caldwell, and followed by a 10-minute talk by Dr. Aravinda. After that, if we have time for question and answers, we'll be taking that too. So from here, I think Dr. Durya, before you come in very quickly, I want to just share the purpose of Muktotsav, which is a very interesting word which combines two words, Mukti and Utsav, which is the festival of freedom. And this year we have two simple agendas or purpose that we want to communicate through this. One is bring crystal clarity about reversal, freedom, remission, and transformation. I'll be just showing one slide on remission, which happens after freedom and is on the journey of reversal. Reversal involves reducing sugars, reducing weight, reducing cholesterol, BP. On the journey of reversal, freedom happens, and when your HbA1c hits 6.5 or below for 3 months duration, you are into the zone of remission. And as you enter the zone of muscle building, becoming fitter and wiser, as we discussed yesterday, your fist becomes stronger, you enter the zone of transformation, and you clear GTT, glucose tolerance test. So we want to bring crystal clarity about these 4 words to the entire world through this festival and bring crazy hope. Now, this is something very interesting. It's not a scientific conference. It's an event to celebrate, and we want crazy hope in the hearts of minds for those with diabetes and other metabolic disorders like obesity, cholesterol, hypertension, PCOD, and complications to emerge so that they can spur themselves into action and actually embrace reversal, freedom, remission, and transformation as their journey ahead. For the doctors who are with me right now in the backstage and all the entire audience, very quick summary of the remission data of 1,100 plus participants of freedom from diabetes, which is the largest study of remission from India, presented in Chennai in October, and from tomorrow for the next 4 days getting presented at the International Diabetic Federation Conference in Lisbon, Portugal, is very telling. What it says is those diabetics who have less than 10 years of diabetes, 54.4% have undergone remission between November 2019 and Feb 2021 to 1 year later. It's a 1-year study, and those who had more than 10 years of diabetes, almost 20% of them underwent remission. With respect to weight loss, the numbers are less than 10 kg of weight loss attracted 35.5% remission, and more than 10 kg, which goes on line with global studies, is 57.1% remission. So this is a quick summary of a long study, and for those who are interested in more details, please refer to the IDF poster, and the audio talk is already uploaded over there. Overall, 37% people have undergone remission out of 1,127, and this has been presented at the IDF Lisbon conference. Also, recently, on 1st of December, we presented in Copenhagen, Denmark, how mental health affects transformation and how transformation affects mental health. And that's been a big success. In India, we've been a part of 2 conferences, FemPedicon and RSSDR Chennai. So with this quick clarification, I invite Dr. Durya back on stage to take us through the latest numbers of freedom through freedom from diabetes. So over to you, Durya.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for that update on the papers as well as the update on the freedom status. I mean, these are incredible numbers, phenomenal reversals that have happened. Last year, we had 11,300 people go off their medications for diabetes. And this year, 13,470 people are off their insulin and medications for diabetes. And this almost translates to 7 people every day going free of the diabetic medications. Well, this is some phenomenal kind of numbers, probably unheard of in any corner of the world. And out of these, we have 10,000 people, 10,655 to be precise, who are free from the diabetic medications, and 1,928, and actually more than 2,000 who are free from insulin. And free from both insulin and medicine, 887. So these are very large numbers of people being free, and not only from diabetes, but even from the co-disorders like hypertension. We have 1,012 people who are free from the antihypertensive medications. and 2,343 people who are free from medicines they were taking for their cholesterol. And what this festival is all about is also celebrating freedom and Muktotsav. So we have people who cleared their GTT test and IGT also. So let's just understand quickly what GTT is. GTT is glucose tolerance test, which involves consuming 15 teaspoons, that is 75 grams of pure glucose in a laboratory. And if your fasting was between the range of 101 to 125 and your PP after consuming 2 hours after consuming this much of glucose is in the range of 141 to 199, you're declared as being impaired glucose tolerance. And we had 173 of them for IGT champions. And if you have a fasting less than 100 and a PP less than 140 after 2 hours of that much of glucose, you are declared a glucose tolerance test champion. And we had 203 of them this year. And yes, we have more awards, as I mentioned, lined up happening this evening, 108 awards. We have IGT Champions Awards, 10 of them, GTT Champions, 20 of them, Weight Loss Champions, 13 of them, Athletic Champions, 24 of them, Freedom Champions, 28, and we have other very special and awards for FFB, 13 of them. So I would pass the mic over to Dr. Pramod to call out these names of these special awardees, the special champions.
Okay, I'm going to be on a rapid fire right now because there are 108 awards and we just have 15 minutes or so to go through them, but it'll be worth looking at each person's face and city and country from where they are and they've achieved this amazing feat. So IGT, Impaired Glucose Tolerance Champion Awards for 2022 goes to, starting with the total numbers, 173 of them cleared in 9 countries and 59 cities. Miss Namita from Bengaluru in the less than 40 years category for female. Congrats, Namita. Nagaraj from Mysuru for less than 40 years male category. Neetu from Gurgaon, 40 to 50 years female category. Jai Kirti from Bengaluru in 40 to 50 years male category with duration of diabetes for 13 plus years. Kanku Padidar, Udaipur, 57 years young with 11 years of diabetes, has cleared IGT in 50 to 60 years category. Francis from Mumbai with 20 years of diabetes, got free of medications and reached the stage of IGT. We want Francis to get into GTT next year. Savitri, 63 years from Bengaluru, 60 to 70 years age category, female. And Trinidad from Visakhapatnam, 31 years of diabetes, became free and reached IGT status, 60 to 70 years. Great going. Kannamal, 75 years from Coimbatore, 27 years of diabetes, defeated. And Ashok Rudrapatna from Basking Ridge, USA, never met us, from online, has become free of medications with 26 years of diabetes and reached the stage of IGT in the more than 70 years category. GTT Champion Awards very quickly. 203 people cleared GTT from 5 countries and 70 cities. And here's a quick photograph of a few people who had gathered in Pune to take the test and had jalebis and sweets as a treat after the test was taken. We have Dipali from Surat with 5 years of diabetes, conquering it and clearing GTT. Ajinkya from Nasik with 2 years of diabetes, less than 40 years category. Binafar in Pune, 11 years of diabetes, conquered. Suresh from Chennai, 19 years of diabetes, free of medications and GTT champion. Chitra, Mumbai, 8 years of diabetes, conquered. Sundar from Chennai, 17.5 years of diabetes left behind. Pratibha Kamble from Pune, 22 years of diabetes, defeated. And Nanjundappa, 70 years from Chitradurga, 12.5 years of diabetes, defeated. C. Raj Sekhar, independent professional from Bengaluru category, 14.5 years of diabetes. Rajiv from the corporate category 1 with 12.5 years of diabetes, defeated. Vinit Kumar from Ghaziabad, 19 years of diabetes from the service category, he won. And Anupama Varadarajan from Bengaluru, 8 plus years of diabetes as a homemaker, she beat it. Rama Gonmare from Dule she's a doctor and she won in this particular category as a healthy doctor award of GTT champion. And Rama Subramaniam from Pune as a business owner won in this particular category. Dr. Pratima Sade in the retired category for female with 66 years of age 15 years of diabetes won in this category. And that's her photograph where she actually came for the test to the Pune office. And Sudhir in the retired category from 57 years, 17 years of diabetes from Kerala has become free. Bhakta Prasad, more than 70 years, Bengaluru, duration of diabetes 19 years, has cleared GTD. And for super special awards for maximum times of GTD clearing, I'm so happy to announce that Dr. Anita from Mumbai has cleared GTD for 4 years in a row for the last 4 years. And H.K. Swami from Bengaluru at the age of 75 has cleared GTD 6 times continuously in the last 6 years. Yay! And the super duper special award goes to Bhaskaran Srinivasan from Hyderabad because he became free of insulin and tablets both and has cleared GGT twice, which is usually unheard of in regular medical practice. And here we move on from these awards, the Weight Loss Champion Awards. I invite Dr. Durya to invite Dr. Malhar on the stage to announce the Weight Loss and Athletic Champions Award.
Yes. So, the man who's behind the Freedom from Obesity program of Freedom from Diabetes, Dr. Malhar Ganda, a specialist in child and adult obesity, is the founder of Freedom from Obesity, as also the Chief Innovation Officer at Freedom from Diabetes, and has immense practice as well as experience, has helped over 15,000 patients reverse and has helped them accumulate a loss of 3 lakh kgs. Amazing. He's also a TEDx speaker, inspiring and motivating everybody. And well, he is an enthusiast when it comes to marathons, triathlon, trekking, and also plays the guitar. Well, I invite Dr. Malhar Ganda to take over now.
Julia. Thank you very much for that. And let's get started with the next set of awards. As you know, we keep upping that number every day. We see the numbers about 5,000 kgs a month now that we are seeing reversal. So that's a significant number. 219 participants, over 15 kgs of weight, 15 countries, 76 cities. We're going to speed read now. So the Healthy Weight Loss Award, Champion Award for the category female, 20 to 25 kgs, Jyoti Sabarwal, 58 kgs from Chandigarh. Exceptional, ma'am. Mr. Prabhakar, 66 years of age, 24.8 kgs from Bengaluru. Mrs. Pushpa Mandal, age 62, Uttar Pradesh, weight loss 27 kgs. Female category, Mr. Josie Joseph, 52 years of age, weight loss is 29 kgs from Mumbai. Mrs. Shelja, from 59 years, Shivamoga, 31 kgs. And the big boss of them all, from Feb all the way to December, you can see the remarkable change, and she's having a laddu in her mouth as well, just to celebrate. There we go. We have Mr. Arul Selva Singh, 53 years, weight loss of 30 kgs. In the male category, Nikhil Patel, 51 years from Gandhinagar, 43.4 kgs. I mean, you just see this is all morbid obesity category, what we talk about bariatric category. So to pull this off online is some feat, and congratulations to you, sir, for your discipline and perseverance. Post-menopause, here we have Mrs. Harneet Kaur, age 51, from Delhi, 26 kgs. Excellent work. Mrs. and Mr. Subramaniam, Fittest Couple Award, under 50. So we have total weight loss of 43 kgs. That's a significantly lighter house. Mrs. and Mr. Virendra Bhatia, 57 and above 50 years. I mean, this is amazing stuff. Total weight loss 49 kgs. Just a little to go. You lit half century. Look at that difference. That's remarkable. Both of you. Your kids must be really proud. We have Mrs. Vaishali Dut and family. Vaishali came to the TRP this time. Total weight loss 76 kgs across the house. Vaishali 12, Nilesh. Amazing stuff. And Nandini 26 kgs. We need, look at the family. I mean, really phenomenal stuff. Congrats to all of you. Fittest Family Award. We have Freedom from Obesity, adolescent. This is a category very close to my heart because we normally don't show too many children, but there are lots of children coming to the program now. Pranav, Shivalenka, and congrats to your mother as well. I met you all in Hyderabad this time. You can see the remarkable change, and the young boys become so confident now that he stepped up, shook my hand, and he was so happy and confident with what he's going to do in the future. So congrats to you, Pranav. You're going to be an inspiration. Okay? And keep cycling. We have the Healthy Weight Gain, which is another Another unique problem that we see in diabetes, we have the thin fat Indian category, or the TOFI as it's called. They've managed to gain weight. So we have Preetham Gurudas Sonamne, who's gained 12 kgs of weight and kept his sugar in check. So hats off, Preetham, to you. The athletic champions, we say you don't want to be diabetic, you got to become athletic. So here goes the athletic champions we have. These guys are all high performing athletes now. They've gone so far ahead. Cyclist under 50 years female, Rashmi Sinha, 43 years, 200 kilometers in one go. I mean, is there really anything? I don't even think it needs words. Rohit Patil, 32 years, 100 kilometers 5 times. This is the below 50 years. I think only we would have an above 50 years category. Garima has actually cycled 84 kilometers now on last IC every day. So she's gone beyond this. And we also have Purushottam Balakrishnan, 100 kilometers every week since April 2022. I mean, that's fantastic, Purushottam. We have athletic gymmers now. Mrs. Lata Dara, 47 years, Bengaluru, leg press 90 kgs, deadlift 60, squats 45 and bench press 30. That's fantastic, Lata. Hats off to you. Mr. Vishal, again, athletic gymmer, below 50, 46 years, Noida, deadlift. Look at the numbers, 110, 100, 95, 80. I mean, you're lucky if you lift your weight. They've gone beyond. Gymmers, Geeta Fale, doc, 60 years, deadlift 25 is not a joke. Leg press 25 kgs, fantastic. Mr. Gururaj Raikar, 51 years, Kopal, leg press 200 kgs, deadlift 100 kgs, above 50, fantastic. Mr. Shivalingappa Jamdade, 49 years, Miraz, running, cycling, gymming, rugby, swimming, amazing stuff.
So it's 30 kilograms.
Mrs. Madhu Chabria, 75 years old, achievement swimming. So for you, I guess consistency is king. Swimming 30 minutes a day, gym, yoga, trampoline. Fantastic, ma'am. So happy to see you. Sanjay, you're an absolute legend. Above 50 to have gone in 4 to 6 months to now cycling 100 Ks, 108 Surya Namaskars, gym 3 days a week. You're the prodigal student. Good for you. Keep up the good work, as you can see. And Barbara, you're an absolute Hall of Famer in my book. 67-year-old of Washington. The way you inspire on the groups, God bless. Cross country skiing, gym, cycling. In the 3-2-1, which we have the pickleball, that's something new for me too. And I love the way you ski with your dogs. I mean, that's fascinating. You're an epitome of graceful aging, Barbara. Keep up the good work. We have Mr. Kashinath Nayak. Yes, we met at the TRP, age 53, Ontario, Canada, 200 kilometers of hiking. That's a lot of hiking. Cycling, 1 half marathon, cricket, badminton, table tennis, golf. Okay, I'm getting breathless reading that, Kash. Okay, Mr. Vijay Patil, age 44, City, Pune, an ultra marathoner. Damn good. Very good, Vijay. We have Narsiman Sampath, runner below 50, international from Singapore, full marathon 42. Good on you. Good on you, Narsiman. Ramesh, 56, above 50 years category, Bangalore, full marathon. I mean, in this group, only full marathon looks less, but it's not a joke. Let me tell all of you. Mr. Shamaya L, yoga champion. Fantastic. Taking daily yoga classes for the clubs. That's fantastic. Mrs. Vandana from Calgary, Canada, 58 years, certified yoga trainer, advanced yoga, and an amazing influencer on our groups. Vandana, despite the cold weather, they're absolutely inspirational. Okay, Mrs. J. Kulkarni from Texas, 44 years, 108 Surya Namaskars. Congrats on that. One of many, I'm sure. Mr. Ravindra Bangale, 47, New Jersey, 108 Surya Namaskars again. Good on you. Mr. Paresh Hargovand Acharya, 53 years, Gandhidham, 108 Surya Namaskars 40 times. You lose count after 50 now, but good job. Mrs. Irene Antoine, 66 years, Chennai, 108 Surya Namaskars 80 times. I think we'll have to make an app for this to count the number of times. Now, Dr. Seema, you're a legend. 56 years from Pune, 52 times Surya Namaskar. I think we stopped counting at 56, at 100 and at 52. Multiple smoothies, well done. Chandru, what do we say about Chandru? Chandru, 70 from Bangalore, 100-kilometer bike rides, healthy change in ISRO's canteen. That was an amazing initiative. Good on you. Thank you so much, Chandru. And I think now we'll be handing it back to Dr. Pramod.
Yeah, the last bit of the Freedom Champion Awards after the athletes in the gymmers, cyclist, runner, yoga categories. We come to the Freedom Champion Awards for the longest freedom story. Bharti ji from Pune, free since 6 years plus. And Vijay Raman, 69 years, again 6 years plus, he's free from medications. That's his photograph, smiling, happy. Jutika from Mumbai, Medicine Terminator Award, 3 different molecules and a big dose of medication she was taking. Mr. Ajay Bakshi from Mohali was on 4 different molecules and he's the Medicine Terminator in the male category. Shraddha Sunil Saka is the insulin terminator. She terminated 96 units of insulin with almost 10 years of diabetes. And Jairaman, 65 years, terminated 110 units of insulin with 14 years of diabetes from Bengaluru. Miraculous freedom story, maximum years of insulin stopped. So almost 30 years of insulin stopped for Lalita Wangala, Hyderabad. Great going Lalita, keep growing Lalita. And Prakash Varanasi, 15.5 years of insulin stopped for him in the miraculous freedom story category. Super miraculous freedom story, free from both insulin and medicine, is 54 years young Shailashri from Hubli with almost 19 years of diabetes, and Kenneth Dennis D'Souza from Mumbai with 31 plus years of diabetes, free from both medicine and insulin for the super miraculous freedom story male category. Largest HbA1c drop is a 13.4 drop, 13.4 point drop. It's unheard of in again regular practice. From 19.9 HbA1c she's come to 6.5. Shanta Mohandas Thakwani, 70 years young from Mumbai. And Jehovah George, 10.2 HbA1c drop from 16 to 6 from Coimbatore. Great going Jehovah. Renu has the lowest HbA1c recorded, which is 4.9, 4 plus years of diabetes conquered. And Neeraj from Mumbai is again 4.9 HbA1c with 3 years of diabetes conquered. Longest hypertension story, I am sure Dr. Caldwell will be watching this more closely, is Sita Bhargava, almost 64 years from Jaipur. 24 years of hypertension medication stopped. And longest hypertension story in male categories, Anil Sungar, New Delhi, 25 years of hypertension medication stopped at the age of 69. Free from cholesterol medication is Dr. Jawahar Babuji from Hyderabad, 24 years of cholesterol medication stopped. And thyroid freedom story, we got a smaller number of people who are free of thyroid medication also. We know it's an autoimmune problem, so everyone doesn't become free, but still a significant number is there. Irene Pereira from Bengaluru, 6 years of thyroid medication stopped. Anand from Bangalore, 6 years of thyroid medication stopped. And reversal, which means the TSH levels have come down from 158 to 2.3. Medications have come down. 3 years of thyroid problem for Abhishek Pajpai. And very interestingly, complications, CKD, kidney freedom story, normalization of microalbumin in the urine. Largest drop is 450 plus points from 474 to 13. Normalized it. Trupti from Mumbai. And Suresh Kumar from Chennai has a 190 point drop from 200 plus to 10. Besides microalbumin normalizing, we also have creatinine normalizing for 80 years young. Farisa Sarwar Latif from Bengaluru, from 1.8 creatinine coming to 0.7. We are so happy. 10-20 years of your life has got extended, Farisa. And Prashant Kaploskar from Mumbai, 0.88 drop from 1.8 creat, getting into problems into normalization. We have improvement in creatinine but not normalized also. The reversal story for chronic kidney disease from Ghaziabad, a 1 point drop from 4.1 to 3, which is commendable for Sushma. And for Shantaram Shenoy from Udupi, from 2.37 to 1.08, almost normalized, 1.29 point drop in the creatinine. Best all-round reversal story for metabolic syndrome, diabetes, hypertension, cholesterol, all conquered by Vijaya Ingle from Hubli. 15.5 years of diabetes for her. And Padala Lakshmana Rao in the male category from Srikakulam, Andhra Pradesh, 28 years of diabetes, cholesterol and hypertension conquered. We've just mentioned the number of years of diabetes over here instead of mentioning hypertension and cholesterol to save time. And other special awards are moving towards the closure part. Longest fasting story. We encourage fasting, intermittent fasting and graded fasting over a period of time for those who need it. Telangana, Shane Noel Castle, 10 days of long fast has been done. Most diligent participant is Shailaja from 75 years from from Pune with 22 consultations taken, regularly been in touch with the doctors. Most powerful inner transformation story. A lot of outer transformation happens because the mental emotional state has shifted through our rigorous journaling, meditation, one-to-one counseling through the team of psychologists. And we want to appreciate Neha from Surat for moving from depression to super productivity. She set up a startup company now. Dimple Atul Shah from Ahmedabad, from negativity to positivity, and Sonal Poddar from Mumbai, from total confusion to complete clarity of her life goals. All three of them are rock stars when it comes to inner transformation for themselves. And in the male category, it's Lala Tendu moving from a lot of anger to peace, Bhupendra moving from anger to contentment from Mumbai, and Sudesh Kumar Chandravanshi from Bhopal, from anxiety to calmness. Lala Tendu is also an amazing club facilitator in Cuttack and Bhubaneswar. Special award for graceful aging is Mr. Shastriji, only 81 years young, from Bengaluru, plays table tennis 30 minutes, gets into strength training and can do a lot of asanas and warrior pose, and has done 24 Surya Namaskaras. A wonderful example of graceful aging, an inspiring role model. This is going to be shocking for many people. Madhabi Chakraborty, 62 years young, from Gandhidham, cancer survivor on reduced diabetes medication. She's not off diabetes medication but reduced by almost 70%, does Zumba, yoga, meditation regularly. Please see her photograph before, how it was, and her latest photograph now at the age of 60. She is such an inspiring role model now. Inspiring role model for the male category is Prabjit Singh Gulari, 47 years, suffered major spinal cord injuries and paraplegia, but now does gymming at home, has gained strength, can now walk with assistance, lost 11 kgs and stopped hypertension medications. So Prabjit's photograph is also telling, here he is from this state to this state, and actually inspiring many more people to become healthier. FFD awards, a few awards for the FFD people who've been doing great work. Starting with the healthiest FFDN in the female category is Ritika Dixit, who works in our digital marketing team. She had diabetes for 6 months. She lost 15 kgs of weight and cleared TPT. Here she is looking like a young girl at almost 40 years of age. And the healthiest FFDN award is our exercise expert, Dr. Shubhro Shashi from Kolkata. Between him and Mrs. Shubhro, they've lost 46 kgs of weight and they're looking such a nice younger couple now. Most enthusiastic diet expert for the GTD, because GTD, Dr. Caldwell, Dr. Aravinda and everyone in the audience, please note that the work for glucose tolerance test started in April, where 3,000 qualified, 11,000 volunteered out of those 3,000, and then groups were made in June, July, and 3 months they were put through glycemic ladder training, which is increasing dose of carbohydrates, and a team of diet experts worked with them across 15 WhatsApp groups, and the most enthusiastic diet expert was Suchetna Chatterjee from Kolkata, who really enthused a lot of positivity in them. We also have a huge energy flowing through us by our team of mentors who are past participants, who kind of educate and inspire newer participants, and there are 743 of them who undergone a test and qualified to be a mentor in 87 cities in 24 countries, and they transform lives. And amongst them, the top 3 mentors in the male categories are Girija, Rajkumari ji and Peri Radha from Odisha, Mumbai and Bangalore. Thank you very much for inspiring newer participants. And in the male categories, we've got Mahesh from Mahabaleshwar near Pune, CVR Murthy from Durgapur. He also got the hypertension or dyslipidemia award long back, and Amit Kumar Jain from Mumbai. So thank you very much for all 3 of you for helping newer participants. We also have clubs in 14 countries and 40 cities, whereby after the year program is done, people have local people to meet, local superheroes and heroes, and they can inspire them. 87 clubs with 6,000 members in 40 cities and 14 countries. FFD Club, it's a seva for healthier community, self and community. They kind of help each other become healthier and healthier over a period of time. And we've got some very, very active club members: H.K. Swamiji from Bengaluru, Dr. Preeti from Delhi, Miss Astrid from Bengaluru, Shamaya ji in Bangalore, Ajit Jain ji from Bihar, Asha Satyanarayana from Bengaluru, Karpadam from Bangalore, Saudamini from Pune, Prabhat Kumar Chaturvedi in Bangalore, Rajan from Bangalore, Deepthi Jaji from Australia, Neeru Thaw from California, USA, Manali, Dr. Manali from Mumbai, Dr. Vandana from Mumbai, and Sean Mitraji from Kolkata. We are so thankful to all of you, and one of the most active club members was Santosh Madap and his entire family, who distributed 300 plus glasses of smoothie this year free of charge. So thank you very much for everyone to watch these 108 awards being delivered. And now comes the time where we listen to the young man of this planet who has made the heart young for so many more people, Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn. Okay, we invite him to give his insightful talk. People are waiting for it, and we're going to love listening to you, sir. So let's get into screen share and the presentation right away. Yeah, please go back to the first slide. Just go back. Yeah, perfect. Over to you, Dr. Caldwell. Looking forward to your talk.
Yes, something's wrong.
Yeah, we can see the presentation. All is well.
Yeah, but I don't have the screen share.
It's already got shared.
Sorry. Let's start over.
Okay, sure. Dr. Caldwell, how did you feel while you were listening to those rampage of awards at bullet speed being delivered back to back? You overshot by 10 minutes. Sorry for that. It was just like too much for us to handle in 30 minutes.
Astounding. He's asking, how your reaction?
I thought the rewards program is a remarkable stimulus for people to absolutely eliminate what can be a crippling disease of diabetes. I think that is astounding and remarkable, and I think you have to be proud.
Thank you, sir. And it's already, screen share is already done. If you can just go to the first slide, we can see. And just go back. Yeah. Yes, this is where we are, and everybody can see the screen clearly. Dr. Caldwell, over to you for your wonderful talk, please.
What a delight it is to be with you and Dr. Pramod. I want to thank you for this kind invitation. I really want to get into some depth about the most serious complication of diabetes, which is cardiovascular disease, heart attacks, and strokes. Now, I think it's important that we recognize that at the present time, there really are many countries on the planet Earth where cardiovascular disease is virtually non-existent. Why is that? Well, they're all thriving on whole food, plant-based nutrition. For example, if you were a cardiac surgeon and you decided that you would try to take your practice to Okinawa, the Papua Highlands in New Guinea, Central Africa, or rural China, you can forget it. You're not going to have any surgery. Why? They don't have cardiovascular disease. Why? They thrive on whole food, plant-based nutrition. Now, this is the oldest slide in my presentation, and I took this back in 1968 when I was leaving Vietnam, having spent a year there as a combat surgeon. And the reason I showed this slide, it is important to have people understand that when we autopsy our GIs who died in combat, for instance, in Korea, in those average 20-year-olds, 80% already had gross evidence of early coronary artery disease at that young age. And that same study was then repeated approximately 45 years later, this time looking at young women and men who had died of accidents, homicides, and suicides. And now coronary artery disease is ubiquitous. They all have it. Not enough for their cardiac events yet, but here at this young age, you graduate from high school in this country, you get a diploma, and you also get the foundation of heart disease. Not a good plan. Now, we really had a chance to get it right in World War II At that time, you may or may not recall, the Axis powers of Germany overran the Low Countries of Holland and Belgium. And characteristically, they took away their livestock, their cattle, their sheep, their goats, their pigs, their chickens, their turkeys. They used those for their troops. So now these Western European countries had become plant-based. And it was interesting that in 1951, in England's leading medical journal, The Lancet, Dr. Strom and Janssen decided to look at the experience in Norway during this time period to see who had died of heart attack and stroke. So let's do this together. Starting on the left, you can see in 1927 in Norway, the heart attacks and strokes were going up. In 1930, they were going up. 1935, going up. 1940 and 1939, in come the Germans. Suddenly, down goes the deaths from heart attack and stroke. Who knew these Germans were these great public health educators? But look what happened. In 1945, with the death of Adolf Hitler, suddenly back comes the meat, back comes the dairy, back come the strokes, back come the heart attacks. But sadly, we were not smart enough to get it right at that time. Now, what you're looking at here, obviously, if you're saying that the artery on the right is very diseased, you are correct. But interestingly enough, only about 10% of heart attacks will come from something that is this disease. Yes, you will have chest pain, you might have shortness of breath, but only about 10% of heart attacks. We'll talk about where 90% of heart attacks occur shortly. But the thing that is so important to remember is that you cannot get a heart attack really usually until the plaque ruptures. And it is the young, smaller plaques that are not occupying a major diameter of the artery that are responsible for causing a heart attack. But I want you to look at the left. So in the left, you will see the innermost lining of this normal artery is a little tiny dark line. That dark line is really called the endothelium, and it is responsible for making a magic molecule that we'll talk about shortly. But here is what happens when you're eating a cheeseburger, when you're eating pizza, when you're eating a milkshake. The cellular elements in your bloodstream get sticky, sticky, sticky. And we'll talk more about that momentarily. But this is a slide from Peter Libby from Harvard. And to orient you, the blue is where the blood is flowing. And if we start together on the left, you will see those little orange molecules, which are your bad LDL cholesterol. But if you've been eating the pizza and the milkshake, it has now been oxidized. So now what happens is those molecules have become very sticky, and they bump up against the sticky endothelium. You can see the endothelium here because it separates the flowing blood from the wall of the artery. Those little thin single-layer purple molecules are the endothelium. Now let's go back again to the upper left, where you see those orange LDL molecules. They're sticky. They bump up against the endothelium, and now they migrate into the subendothelial compartment, and they become oxidized, where Peter Libby now changes them from being from being orange to yellow. Yellow means that it is a small, hard, dense, oxidized LDL particle, and the subendothelial space does not like this. So it calls upon our SWAT team, which here Peter Libby of Harvard has painted blue. And the SWAT team comes across the endothelium and begins to behave like Pac-Man, gobbling up all these small, hard, dense LDL cholesterol particles until we get all the way over to the right-hand side, where now that macrophage is absolutely, totally filled with these small, hard, dense, oxidized LDL particles. And we in medicine do what we do so often. We change the name. It is now called a foam cell. And the foam cell is truly the Darth Vader of this sequence of events. Why? Because the foam cell begins to produce or elaborate these nasty, nasty substances we call metalloproteinases, like stromelicin, elastase, collagenase. What do they do that is so bad? They progressively thin out the cap on the plaque. So let's focus now on the figure on the left, and you will see where this cap over the plaque, especially in the upper border, is very, very thin. And that, when it becomes so thin, is capable of what we call a rupture. Now, here you can forget the x-ray, but I want you to concentrate on the opening of the artery. And you can see that the artery is half filled with a plaque or blockage. The other half is still open. Now, in the half that is still open, you can see that the innermost lining is composed of those endothelial cells. Now, up until 1980, we in medicine used to think of the endothelial cells as these cute little red bricks that were lining these wonderful pipes of ours. However, that all changed in 1980 when Dr. Furchtgott, working in his laboratory in Brooklyn, was taking the largest blood vessel in the rodent, the aorta, and he would make this sort of elliptical spiral staircase cut on it right through the endothelium and immerse it in a bath of saline, and it would constrict, narrow. One day, though, he did it without the cut. No injury to the endothelium. He immersed it and it dilated. He did it with another one with no cut. It dilated. Now suddenly the race was on globally. What was the EDRF that Dr. Furchtgott had discovered? Endothelial-derived relaxation factor. And thank heavens that term was with us only 8 years when the three men, Dr. Furchtgott, Dr. Murad, and Dr. Lewinaro, discovered that the EDRF was a gas, nitric oxide. And believe it or not, 10 years later, these three men received a Nobel Prize for discovering nitric oxide. Now you might ask, what is it about nitric oxide that makes it worthy of a Nobel Prize? Well, it has these remarkable functions. What are the functions of nitric oxide? One, they keep all the cellular elements within our bloodstream flowing smoothly like Teflon rather than Velcro. Keeps things from getting sticky. Number two, nitric oxide is the strongest blood vessel dilator in the body. When you climb stairs, the arteries to your heart, the arteries to your legs, they widen, they dilate. That's nitric oxide. Number three, nitric oxide will protect the wall of the artery from becoming thick and stiff or inflamed and protect us from getting high blood pressure or hypertension. Number four is the absolute key. A safe and normal amount of nitric oxide will protect us all from ever developing any blockages or plaques. So literally, everybody on the planet Earth who has cardiovascular disease has their disease because in the previous decades, they have so trashed, injured, worn out, and turned their endothelial system into an absolute train wreck. They no longer have enough nitric oxide to protect themselves from making blockages and plaque. But the good news is this. This is not a malignancy. It is a completely benign foodborne illness. And once you can get patients to understand that never, ever again are they to pass through their lips a single morsel that is going to further injure an already train-wrecked endothelium, because then the endothelium will recover, make enough nitric oxide so we can not only halt disease progression, but we often will see elements of disease reversal. Now, at this point, usually when I look out at the audience, having just heard what I've said about the functions of nitric oxide, they're probably saying to themselves, gosh, I wonder what my level of nitric oxide is. So Now, we really don't have a good method for measuring this in the doctor's office, but I want to share with you how it's done from a research standpoint. You will take an ultrasound probe and place it over the brachial artery at your elbow, and there you will have a readout of the diameter of your brachial artery. Then, for 5 minutes, you encircle the upper arm with a blood pressure cuff, which you inflate above systolic blood pressure so that for 5 minutes, there is zero blood flow to your forearm and hand. Now, I've had that done, and it's not exactly habit forming. But then you immediately, after 5 minutes, you release the cuff, release the tourniquet, and then immediately take the ultrasound probe again and measure the new diameter of the brachial artery. And then the normal individual, it'll be 30% greater because of all the outpouring of nitric oxide from those healthy endothelial cells while the tourniquet was in place. Now, the other great thing that occurred with nitric oxide was when Dr. Robert Vogel, who was chairman of cardiovascular disease at the University of Maryland, took a group of healthy young subjects to a certain fast food restaurant, which is characterized by arches which are golden. Half of the group got the cornflakes. Then they did the brachial artery tourniquet test, normal. The other half had the hash browns and sausage. Within 120 minutes after that meal, those young people could not dilate the artery. That meal of hash browns and sausage had so injured, so compromised their endothelium, they couldn't make enough nitric oxide to dilate the artery. However, being young, as they followed them into the late afternoon and early evening, they began to recover. However, you and I know that the next morning for breakfast, it'll probably be scrambled eggs and bacon. Lunchtime, we might have white bread with mayonnaise and cold cuts. And at supper time, it's going to be probably a hamburger with ranch dressing on a salad and ice cream for dessert. So here in the good old USA, from dawn to dusk, morning to night, we injure and re-injure our endothelium. All right. So let's summarize what we've learned. The endothelial cells can respond to nitric oxide. The nitric oxide will prevent stickiness of the cellular elements, strongest vasodilator, avoids arterial thickening, prevents blockages, prevents smooth muscle migration into the vessel, and can destroy Darth Vader, the foam cell. Now, while these are 4 wonderful defense mechanisms we have, we've only had a chance today to discuss the endothelial cell. But what I want you to know is that all 4 of these are optimized when you are eating whole food, plant-based nutrition. Now, let's just go where the rubber hits the road. What about a study? I want to share with you the first study that I was involved with trying to take patients who were seriously ill with heart disease and having them eat plant-based nutrition and to see if we couldn't halt or reverse their disease. Now, I had nothing against women in this first study. That is just the way the patients arrived in the study. It was a small study because I still was carrying on my surgical obligations. Now, what are the foods that we wanted them to absolutely eliminate? Those are the foods that are going to injure the endothelium. They got to get rid of oil, olive oil, corn oil, soybean oil, safflower oil, sunflower oil, coconut oil, palm oil. Also, we want to get rid of anything with a mother or a face, meat, fish, chicken, fowl, turkey, and eggs. I don't like dairy. We got to get rid of milk, cream, butter, cheese, ice cream, and yogurt. And caffeine. Also, we want to get rid of too much sugar. And for those of you who are a little bit nervous about what I said about oil, here is a peer-reviewed scientific study showing how olive, soybean, and palm oil intake have an acute detrimental effect over the endothelial function in healthy young subjects. Now, This is, again, the foods that we want to be sure to eliminate. Now, I wanted to share with you for a moment the work of Stanley Hazen from the Cleveland Clinic. And Dr. Hazen was looking at the molecules of lecithin and carnitine, which happen to be found in these foods right here. These animal-based foods contain actually contain bacteria, which have the capacity to convert lecithin and carnitine into TMAO. And TMAO is trimethylamine oxide, which will injure blood vessels. But the other thing that he found that was so striking was that when he measured the blood in a person who was totally plant-based after they had had a lamb chop, there was no TMAO in their blood. So it's another remarkable advantage when you're eating plant-based is you avoid the development of a TMAO molecule which injures blood vessels. This is the one slide in my presentation today that has anything to do with cancer. And it was such a remarkable month in actually October of 2015, when, believe it or not, the World Health Organization agreed, imagine that, from all these different countries came to agreement that red meat had the same level of carcinogenicity as smoking cigarettes. Now, what do we want you to eat? We want you to eat all these marvelous whole grains for your cereal, bread, pasta, rolls, and bagels, 101 different types of legumes, lentils, and beans, all these marvelous red, yellow, and green leafy vegetables, and some fruit. With apologies to Leonardo da Vinci, no oil. I want to share with you now the results of that first study. We're going to look at some angiograms of disease reversal. And the thing that is really, I think, quite striking about this is all these angiograms were reviewed in triplicate in the Cleveland Clinic Angiography Core Laboratory. Now, this first happens to be a 67-year-old retired pediatrician. You're looking at an artery we call the left anterior descending. And from the arrow on the left to the arrow on the right, this was described as a 10% widening or reversal of disease. And on the next, it's a little easier to see. This is actually a 20% reversal in a 58-year-old factory worker. This is the circumflex artery that goes to the back of the heart. And from the arrow on the left to the arrow on the right, it was described as a 20% reversal of disease. This happens to be a right coronary artery of a 54-year-old security guard. And from the arrow on the left to the arrow on the right, it was described as a 30% reversal of disease. Now, this happens to be a surgical colleague and friend of mine, Dr. Joe Crow, and he appears in the first chapter in my book, Prevent and Reverse Heart Disease. In 1996, at age 44, Joe began to get chest pain. He had a cholesterol of about 156. He exercised regularly. He was not overweight. He did not have high blood pressure. He was not diabetic, but he had this chest pain. So in October of 1956, cardiology did a careful evaluation, but they could find nothing that was wrong. A month later, he finished his surgical schedule and sat down to write post-operative orders. As he was sitting there, suddenly he felt the elephant on his chest, pain in his left jaw, left shoulder, and arm. He was having a heart attack. He was whipped down to the catheterization laboratory, and immediately he had a cardiac arrest. They resuscitated him. They finished the catheterization. One more cardiac arrest, from which he was successfully resuscitated. He stabilized over the next 3 or 4 days, and then he was discharged, but he was very depressed. The reason he was so depressed was because at the time of his catheterization, they found, as you can see here on this slide, that the entire lower 1/3 of his left anterior descending artery was all moth-eaten and diseased, over too long a segment to qualify for a stent. And it was too small for bypass surgery. So he was quite depressed. So 2 weeks after his heart attack, my wife and I invited Joe and his wife out for supper. Joe, come on, you've been eating the typical Western diet and you've got this typical Western disease. We've got 10 years of data on plant-based eating. Why don't you go plant-based? He replied. You know, they really couldn't offer me anything else. I think I will give it a shot, but I'm not going to take any of those statin drugs. I don't trust them. There's too many side effects. So I simply said, fine, not a problem. Well, he became the absolute personification of commitment to whole food, plant-based nutrition. And over the next 2.5 years, his total cholesterol plummeted. His LDL went from 98 down to 38. And then, lo and behold, he had another angiogram. Now, in the surgical office areas, our doors are 3 doors apart. So on the day that I knew he had earlier that morning a follow-up angiogram, I walked over to his office, opened the door. There he was, sitting in his desk. And I said, Joe, I understand you had the follow-up angiogram today. Could you share with me, how did it go? So he came around, put his arms around me and said, you know, I think we're doing okay. And so I said, well, any chance that I could see the angiogram? He said, yes. Now you can see, really it's quite striking that when the plaque is young, made up of inflammation, fat, and cholesterol, the body can have a profound job in trying to reverse it in this, as you can see here. However, we found that obviously in patients who are older, in their late 60s and 70s, where the plaque has been there for decades and it now is made up of fibrosis and scar and calcification, it is less likely to go away. However, nevertheless, even those patients seem to get back to full activity with daily living without restriction. And it's my responsibility later in this presentation to show you how that happens. Now, here's another gentleman, just an example of a 45-year-old gentleman who in July of 2017, in this artery, which is a branch of what we call the obtuse marginal from the circumflex, this was described as an 80% blockage. And because of the other blockages that he had, his cardiologist asked him to have bypass surgery. He said, no, I have this book, Prevent and Reverse Heart Disease. And I'm going to follow this with diet. Well, the cardiologist was so concerned that a year later, just following the diet, he got another angiogram. The blockage was no longer 80% blocked. It was now 40% blocked. At this point, he changed cardiologist, and lo and behold, a year and a half later, the new cardiologist said, we ought to get another film on that. And now the blockage was gone. So think about it. This is really quite important. This man had no doctor that was advising him, but he decided to try to do this on his own, treating the causation of the illness. And why is it that every patient with cardiovascular disease ought to be at least offered this option along with the other therapies that are going to be suggested? Now, the original 24 patients were reduced to 18 because there were 6 guys right from the start. I knew that they just were not going to be able to follow this program, and they were nice guys. And I released them full-time to their expert cardiologist. And the 18 patients that stayed with us, I wanted to know how many coronary events they had of worsening disease in the 8 years prior to coming into our study. And you can see there were these 49 events scattered among the various categories that you see here. However, once they came into our study over the next 12 years, none of the 17 compliant patients of those 18 had any further progression of their disease. One little sheep, however, at the end of 6 years, wandered from the flock, got into the glazed donuts, and the French fries, and had more symptoms, had a bypass, but really is now back with the flock, but proves the point that I'm trying to share with you today. Now, we took quite a hit on that first study. Critics said it was too small, it was not randomized, it was severe, strict. When anybody says that our diet is severe or strict, I replied that I really disagree, because I think the diet that is most severe and most strict is the one that 98% of Americans are following, that guarantees that they're going to have this disease. So they said, what makes you think you could do it with a larger group and get similar results? So we did. This time, 200 patients, 2 were lost to follow-up. It was interesting that when we looked them up at close to 4 years, 89.3, almost 90% were still adherent to our program, and 21 were non-adherent. Now, the point that I think is so important to make, that if you are going to have your patients make a lifestyle change, you've got to show the patient respect. The only way I know to show a patient respect is to give them my time. For example, at the present time, with the seminar that I conduct once a month, it is a 5-hour seminar, and there are usually 20 people who appear on that virtually, all with cardiovascular disease. Now, it's important to recognize that, since I guess I'm a little old-fashioned, every single one of those 20 patients I personally will call usually a week or 2 beforehand, so that I can get my arms around their story, and at the same time permit them an opportunity to ask questions of me, so that coming to the seminar, we have a strong platform from which we can all move forward. Now, what were the results? Well, of those patients who were adherent, there was one patient who totally misbehaved while he was on vacation in China, ate all the wrong foods, lots of salt, high blood pressure, and he had a small stroke in the cerebellum, from which he recovered. On the other hand, those 21 patients who were not adherent, 62% had disease progression. I've decided I would compare our results with some of the better known results in cardiology, which you see here. And as we start on the group on the right, 25% from this Lyon diet heart study from France, 25% at the end of 4 years had either a heart attack, stroke, or death. We move to the one box to the left. This is from Columbia Presbyterian Hospital in New York City, the natural history of coronary disease. In their study at the end of 4 years, 20% heart attack, stroke, and death. Now we go to the left to the Courage study. Bill Bowden's study, 19.4% at 4 years, heart attack, stroke, and death. Now we go to the left to our study. 0.6%, over a 30-fold difference. Why is that happening? It is because we are treating the causation of the illness. Sadly, today, in most cardiovascular health clinics, the causation is not being treated. None of the drugs, none of the stents, none of the bypasses that are common in cardiology have one single solitary thing whatsoever to do with the causation of the illness. Now, let's summarize what happens. There is no mortality from the diet. There is no morbidity from the diet. There's no added expense because you've got to eat. And the benefits improve with time. And most important of all, most patients who've had a heart attack are walking around with the sword of Damocles hanging over their head, wondering, when is the other shoe going to fall? When do I get my next heart attack? Well, people who are empowered by eating whole food, plant-based nutrition can absolutely make themselves heart attack proof, and are relieved with a recognition that they themselves are the locus of control to stop any progression. Now, here we see on the left a pulse volume on the right ankle of a 54-year-old gentleman with heart disease who also had a partially blocked artery in his right thigh that was recognized because when he was walking across the skyway to my office, he had to stop 5 times to let the discomfort in his calf muscle fill up again with blood. And it was interesting that it was after he'd been on the program for approximately 10 months, he came to me one day and said, Dr. Esselstyn, do you recall when I first started on your program, I had to stop 5 times crossing the Skyway to your office? Yes. He said, the last month, it got to be 4 times, 3 times, 2 times. He said, I don't stop anymore. The pain is gone. I said, Don, back you go to the vascular lab. Now look on the right. The pulse volume is double. Now, this was exciting for us. Why? Because it was absolutely within about 15 months of starting our program. We now had absolutely at rock solid, irrefutable scientific proof that food and food alone could halt and reverse cardiovascular disease. And somebody's going to say, well, wait a minute. What about the statin drug? Well, there were no statin drugs in 1986. So I've given you 2 very exciting examples, Dr. Crow and Don, where literally rock solid science that food and food alone could reverse and halt disease. Here's another example. This happens to be this was a 78-year-old retired high school chemistry teacher. And in his retirement, he and his wife loved to enter square dance contests. However, during the fast square dance, he was getting bilateral pain in the calf muscle of his legs. And he saw these surgeons who got the pictures you see here, and he did not like the large operation they were suggesting. He came to us and said, Dr. Esselstyn, if I choose your method, how long will it take me to get rid of my calf pain? So I looked at him with great wisdom in my face and said, probably about 10 months. 3 months later, I got a phone call. Dr. Esselstyn, you do not speak the truth. The pain is gone. Now, I don't know where all of you have come from who are listening to this, but I can tell you that in Cleveland, when you're watching a mystery or a sporting event, just before the advertisement comes on, you will hear the announcers, the mellifluous tones of the announcers say something like, when the moment is right, will you be ready? Now, we know that the penile artery is really quite small compared to the coronary artery. So not infrequently, before somebody comes down with heart disease, they may notice that they are no longer able to raise the flag. However, all is not lost. Not occasionally, after I've received a phone call from somebody who has been away from the program for 10 months, it goes a little bit like this. Dr. Esselstyn, I really thought I ought to give you a call because recently something has come up, and I'm wondering if I don't owe you another check. Now, here, as we finish up here, I promised you that I would share with you how it is that we get reversal of this disease. What you're seeing on the left is a PET rubidium dipyridamole scan. This PET scan of the heart, if areas of the heart that happen to be orange or yellow mean that there is adequate heart perfusion there. But as you see on the left, there is one segment on the right that is green. It is green because the blood flow there is quite poor. I counseled that gentleman at that time, and over the next 3 weeks, he followed this program. Then he had another PET scan, and look what happened to the area. It was green. It was now restored. Now, this really had me very puzzled that we could have that rapid a restoration. So I did a little research, and here is a picture of the heart where you can see those 3 main arteries, the coronary arteries that get all the publicity, are riding on the surface of the heart. That's where you get stents and you get bypasses. But look where they all go. They all dive into the heart muscle where they interdigitate and connect. You can see thousands of them. And I asked then to Rodriguez, who is the chairman of Cleveland Clinic Cardiovascular Pathology, who dissects perhaps 200 hearts a year from the deceased. I said, Ron, how often do you ever see a plaque or blockage once the artery has dived into the heart muscle? His answer, never. So now I knew what we were doing and why this was happening so rapidly, because when patients first come to see us, our program, their endothelial cells are so beaten down, they are barely making any nitric oxide, the great vasodilator. And at the same time, they have now become your enemy. It is now making two molecules, endothelin and thromboxane, which are vasoconstrictive. So think of it this way. As you look at that heart, as you look at all those vessels that are intramuscular, they are much smaller and narrower than they should be because of this endothelium, which is now your enemy, producing endothelin and thromboxane, which tend to constrict those arteries. So literally what happens often within 4, 6, 8, or 10 days, as these patients start eating correctly, they stop making the vasoconstrictor, they start making more nitric oxide, the vasodilator. And what do we see at 3 weeks? More perfusion of blood. And that's why these patients, for example, who say previously they walked 2 blocks, they begin to get chest pressure. Within 4, 6, 8, or 10 days after this program, they now have to walk 6 or 8 blocks before they get pressure. And they know what they're doing is curing and reversing their disease. So let's summarize the 8 measures of disease reversal. You can see reversal on an angiogram, on a stress test. We've talked about the PET scan. It happens. You can reverse the arteries going to the head, the carotid. We've shown how you can show it with pulse volume when you reverse it on the leg. And then there's the common symptoms that you reverse of angina, claudication in the calf, and erectile dysfunction. I'd like to finish up by saying this is the A building at the Cleveland Clinic, where for many years I was a surgeon on the 8th floor. But I'd like to show this to you so you know, those of you who have not been to Cleveland can see what the trees look like in February. However, when I retired from surgery, I was hired by the Wellness Institute to deal with patients with cardiovascular disease. And I'll say, although the transition to the Institute, there is a great deal of let's say, a much more of a modest budget than I was used to, but the morale really is quite high. And one thing I've learned through the 60 years from having left medical school, there's no question that brains are important, but nothing is as important perhaps as persistence best exemplified by this young damsel from Life magazine in 1939, trying to do the splits. And it is hard to do the splits, but she stuck with it. And suddenly the other day, I think it was in Mumbai, they saw her and she had now got it right. Thank you for your patience and your understanding. I'd be happy to try to take questions.
Thank you so much, Dr. Caldwell. It's been a joy listening to you. And the book is right here, which was a big inspiration in 2009 and 10. Those were the years when I was exploring reversal through your book, Dr. Bernard's book, Dr. Cousin's book, and many other books. And it's such a joy to see those kind of big people I thought about and I still think about and revere all of you so much, coming live on the program and sharing your views directly with our audience. So they are loving it. There's a lot of communication happening on YouTube. And what we'll do is, before question answers, it'll be great to hear the young man, Dr. Aravinda, come online and share his 5-10 minute presentation. He's a interventional cardiologist actively working with Cleveland, and it'll really be nice to have you over. So over to Dr. Aravinda. And Dr. Caldwell, if you could just stop sharing the screen, we can have the screen of Dr. Aravinda come up. And do help us. Okay, manager.
Thank you so much, Dr. Tripathi. It's an absolute pleasure to listen to you, your group, and all the achievements that you've done. And it was absolute joy to listen to Dr. Esselstyn. I think he gave the lecture, which an interventional cardiologist would be ashamed because he showed the truth and what helps, what doesn't help. Half of the physicians, we don't tell them. We just say, you have a blockage, come on over tomorrow, we'll fix it. And then you go and the patients are asking, why can't I do it this afternoon? So they're very happy when we go back and put a stent that day. But that's putting a Band-Aid on a bigger problem. You're never treating the problem. They will keep coming back and back. So he's dealing with the root cause of the problem. And so hats off to you, Dr. Esselstyn. And he has worked with groups in India before. And also he knows about all the diet that we follow in India and why we get into trouble. I just want to take a minute to thank everybody for the inviting. The way I got introduced to Tripathi is from my wife. And of course, there's always a woman behind the scenes for any man to be successful. And you can see Dr. Esselstyn's wife being there all the time and helpful. Just like that, my wife is an active badminton player. She's never seen what an egg looks like, not a fish. She always used to eat vegetarian, but her hemoglobin A1C went up to 6.4. And she said, hey, this is, and even a frozen shoulder. And she said, this is because of just moving to United States. You breathe air in the United States, you're going to get into heart disease, she said. Then finally, during the COVID time, she got stuck in India. And as a blessing, one of the Fortune 500 company CEO had a hemoglobin A1C of 13. I met with him and I told him, you need to be on metformin, you need to be on insulin, blah, blah, blah. He shook his head. He's like, no, Aravinda, I'm not going to do. I read about FFD. I met with Dr. Hegde. I'm going to follow that. I'm going to get into super fasting. I'm not do it. I told my wife, he'll be dead in a year. Probably he'll have a massive heart attack and he's not going to do well. So guess what? Within 3 months, I saw him tremendously lose weight. His hemoglobin A1C was 8. And I could not believe. I thought this is just hocus pocus. Then I started to look into things. And though I'm not diabetic, I'm a marathon runner. I've done triathlons. I thought this is the way to go. And I started to research. And that's how I got introduced to Dr. Tripathi. So thanks to my wife for putting me on the right track. And by the way, she finished one of your program. Our hemoglobin A1C is 5.2. She lost at least 12 to 14 pounds. She can beat any man of her age in the badminton. Still, they're yet to find a guy who can play as good as her in United States with her. So thanks to everything. All right, without a delay, I think Dr. Esselstyn finished.
This is me.
Yay, hello. Great to see you. Great to see you.
I'm Pratibha Aradhya. So this is the way I married Dr. Interventionalist. So he will take over.
No, it's amazing to hear that nobody in US can beat you in badminton. So amazing growth in your health. Keep going.
All right. So I'm going to start to share the screen and okay. Also, just a short disclosure, when we do this, they ask me, am I a real interventionalist or I am just into this kind of stuff? Or am I afraid to do? Is it why I don't do this? And what I tell the people is any monkey can push a catheter. And I'm not saying in a joking manner, but that is the truth. Any of us can get a stent done. There is nothing rocket science. Of course, some of us have the good skill set to salvage cases.
Interesting. Very interesting.
How do I get these slides to?
You'll have to download them. Yeah. Download them and then open them. Yeah. It would be on the bottom left. You can open it. Close this now and then open it.
Okay. Can you see me?
Yeah. Just reshare.
Okay. Reshare?
Yeah. Just stop sharing and reshare. Keep the heart beating coherently. Yeah, that's great.
Is it good?
Yes, it's good. Just let's go on slideshow.
Okay, can you see?
Perfect. Good.
Sorry about the delay. As you can know, I'm not a smart guy to do these things, but I want to thank one of my fellows. She's a champion in this. She's from Chandigarh, Simrat Kaur. She's a senior fellow. She's a strong believer, and she helped me to share some of the slides because every Diwali, every Ganesha festival, we have 200, 300 Indian people gathering, and she makes it a time to come and give the talk and tell them how to prevent heart disease. So I just want to thank her for her contribution.
Lovely.
So here is a question I wanted to see if Tripathi can tell me the answer for this. The Japanese people eat very little fat. They drink sake, smoke, and suffer few heart attacks. As you know, the French eat a lot. They drink a lot of wine and they smoke. Still, they have fewer heart attacks. Italians, on the other hand, eat a lot of carbohydrate, drink a lot of wine, they smoke. Still, they have suffered from lower heart attacks. I think Dr. Esselstyn already told Germans drink a lot of beer, steal other people's food, and then they eat sausages and fat. Still, they have fewer heart attacks. The British drink only high tea, eat only a small toast, they eat only canned sardines, and yet die of heart disease. Americans, we follow yoga, change the diet almost every day. There is a new diet. Try all the exercises we can, eat and drink in moderation. Still, we have high heart disease. Why is it? All right, won't take up too much of the time. If you look at the first four of them, all of them speak different language. Japanese speak Japanese, French speak French, Italian speak Italian, German speak German. British, American, and Indians, we speak English. So eat what you want, but don't speak English. That's the answer. All right. So jokes apart, I just wanted to make sure people are awake and not sleeping. So when we talk about Southeast Asia, it involves India, but also it involves all the subcontinents, Afghanistan to Bhutan, and then south down to Sri Lanka and Maldives. All this is a subset of people. They account for 1/4 of the population, yet we are following what's there for other people. What I mean by that is we have a huge number. We do not know what works in Indians, what doesn't, but yet we follow whatever is given in the Western population. So Southeast Asian accounts for 60% of the heart disease. That's a disproportionate number, right? We already said 1 in 4 humans are from Southeast Asia, but at the same time, half of all the heart disease, we own it. And it's a growing population. And as we know, we already crossed the billion population. So this disease is going to become more and more. In terms of what I want to cover briefly is a little bit of prevalence, dyslipidemia, diet, and recommendation. You got a good review from Esselstyn, so I'm not going to go into much detail. This is one of the first studies in America, which was done for Southeast Asians by Dr. Inas in Chicago. Salim Yusuf needs no introduction. He's from St. John's Hospital in Bangalore, but one of the leading researchers at McMaster University. And of course, Jawahar Mehta doesn't need any introduction. These are the pioneers who changed what we see about heart disease in America, especially about Indian population. Basically, what they found is in India, if you look at it from 1970, both men and women, when they come into America, the heart disease goes up. And you have more increase in stroke and heart rate in this subset of people compared to all other people who migrate. So the three main factors, what happens is the food we eat, it's westernized, high saturated fat with ghee and dalda. Most people, Indians, will tell me, hey, I don't eat what the Americans eat. I don't go to McDonald's. That may be true, but things like the saturated fats with the oils, they're not helpful. Exercise we do, there is less walking, more cars, elevators at home. Now in India, there is more TV and game time and less of sports. The stress we carry, there's a constant push to excel ourselves. There is always, you want to compete to be the best, eager to earn more, eager to strive and get a promotion, higher scale jobs, keeping up with the society regarding the house, clothes we wear, cars, appearance. All this is huge stress that we carry. So there was a recent study called Masala study by one of the Indian cardiologists. What she published is when Americans get a stress after the work, when they go home, they stop by a bar, have a drink, maybe see a friend and go home. Indians don't do that. They straight in the California area, they went to a sweet shop, ate some sweets, ate some samosa, smoked a cigarette, went home. They didn't want their wife to know that he's been already eaten his dinner. So to keep the family happy, they would eat another big meal. This just led to more obesity, more problems, and their stress factor was entirely based on how much they could gorge the food. So basically, the way we carry the stress plays a big role. When we say westernization, smoking, alcohol use, lack of social communication, such as family, friends gathering happens in the United States, less going to the temple, festivals, and weddings, all this plays a big role. The quick number to this is Black women in America live longer than the white men. The single reason being these people are the ones who go to church. Jesus is not going to save them from dying, but the social interaction and the less of stress level. And when you feel happiness in the happiness of other people, you do have less of coronary disease, less of stress. A constant availability of high carbohydrate diet in America and even in India now, every corner has street foods. Meat eating culture is more. So this leads to it. Late night jobs, partying, studying, night owls, staying up till 2 o'clock, less sleep, all this leads to chronic stress. So here are some of the things you can look at in the Catalonia study from Italy. No matter how you look at it, people who migrated from Southeast Asia, this was an Italian study that shows the diabetes in both men and women, anti-diabetic medications that you take, both in men and women, and prevalence of coronary artery disease. All of them starting from age 35 is much higher than the rest of the population. So in terms of distribution of atherosclerotic cardiovascular disease, again, you can see compared to the Europeans, Southeast Asians have higher coronary disease. And you look at the area under the curve, you see the 10-year predicted risk for Indians is much higher than the Europeans. And the distribution of the coronary artery disease risk also by AUC is much higher at 10 years. So basically, there's a twofold increase of atherosclerotic disease in Southeast Asians compared to the Europeans. And the event rate predicted by the ACCHA really does not catch this because all these predictors and the calculators are meant for Western population. So if you look up at the Google and put in the word diabetic capital of the world, guess what comes up? It's New Delhi. So people think in India we are slim, we are into prayer, meditation, we do yoga, exercise, that we don't have diabetes. That's absolutely not true. You can see exponential increase in risk of diabetes, and it's considered the diabetes capital of the world. But I think by 2030, if you carefully scan people or carefully evaluate, India will be the mother of heart disease or the capital for the heart disease. So the question comes when you ask Indian people, most of my own family members, my wife's friends or family, they'll say, no, it's all genetics. My grandfather had a heart attack. My father had a heart attack. My brother, by the way, he has diabetic too. All this is garbage. There is some genetics, but the genetics is really not true. I just put in the word, it could be the jalebi that we eat, but it's true also. Vogelman is one of the cardiologists out at Nebraska who paired up with people like Lakshmi Mehta, who is at the Indiana Heart and published this atherosclerotic cardiovascular in Southeast Asians, a scientific statement. What they basically mentioned is this subgroup of Indian people, we do not seek for medical and health services. Second, we don't take this into serious condition. It's always considered this is a disease of the white population. This is a disease for somebody else, not me. But heart disease is knocking on our doors every day. So here is a clinical picture quickly to show two people how, both are being Indians, how much it could differ in the body fat. The left one, you could see it's like a pear-shaped body. The right side is a slim one. And you would think who is fit, who is not fit. The one on the screen left with the BMI of 22.3, who looks to be a little bit pear-shaped, he actually runs marathons. The one on the right side who looks to be thin, his best exercise, he says in that study, is to catch the elevator door before it closes. So no jokes apart, the BMI of the Indians can look slim. I think Malhar mentioned the best thing, that this is like the toffee we call about the brown fat. Indians are skinny, but you can see the ribs, but it's all the visceral fat is packed in the gut. As Dr. Esselstyn was saying, the food we eat in other people in the Caucasian population, it goes to the thighs, it goes to the chest wall. Indians, it all sits around the visceral organs. That's where the inflammatory LDL small a comes up, LP small a. So in atherosclerotic vascular disease, what are the factors that cause? We know about all of these things about atherogenic dyslipidemia, everything, but I want to say there is, instead of just focusing on the LDL, when you go to your doctors, you need to ask for LP small a to be drawn. And even if you're not diabetic, look at pre-diabetes, look at hypertension, look at obesity. That's the metabolic syndrome. Pay focused on that. That's very important because people will think my BMI is 24, I'm okay, but it may not be all right. So this is atherosclerotic cardiovascular disease in Southeast Asians. This was by a scientific statement. Basically, what it says is if you look at the white population to the Southeast Asians, you can see coronary artery disease prevalence is high in coronary disease, diabetes. Look at the BMI. The ones who got the heart disease in America, White population was 72% were BMI were high. Black population 70%, Hispanic 70%. Indians only 28% of them had a high BMI. Native Americans 76% had a high BMI. What I'm trying to say is Indians having a high BMI may be as less as 1/4 of the population, but still they have high heart disease. Why is that? We'll talk a little bit in the following slides. So these patients look at high apolipoprotein B to A1 ratio. It's a fancy term, but this is based on how much LP small a you have. This LP small a is a dangerous oxidized particle that can give heart attack and heart disease. You can see the percentage is high in Southeast Asians. So lipoprotein small a, as I talked about, the Southeast Asia accounts for 25% of the population. It's significant. 1 in 4 human beings, we are all from India or in the Southeast Asia. It's 469 million population, much bigger than United States. Yet we have the highest number of LP small a. Look at the risk factor, risk ratio and the odds ratio. It's 2.14, bigger than anything. If you draw a forest diagram, you will be on the right side, and the p-value is significant, 0.001. What we're trying to say is this: in the Southeast Asians, LP small a is the biggest risk factor. And if your LP small a stays less than 100, it's good, but better even less than 50. So don't focus on what you read in the Google. Focus this is the most important. Waist circumference for men and women should be preferably less than 31, 32. For men, I think NIS, which is in London, has given a little bit of leeway for men. The waist circumference should be 35. I think that should be even lower. 32 for men, waist is better. Women waist should be 31. And know how to measure the waist circumference. It's not where the pant fits. Pant can fit right below my rib. Pant can fit below my hips into the thighs. That's not where you wear a size of the pant. What we mean by that is when you're relaxed, when you're pushing the belly out, take a tape and measure around the umbilicus or 1 handful above the hip bone and in between the hip bone and the ribs. Calculate, see how much is the waist circumference. And don't suck up, because we're not here for a wedding dress. We are here to know about our own stuff. So push the belly out and see what's the waist. The waist, like I said, should be focused on 32, men and women. Body mass index is no longer 25 good. It's less than 23 for men and women from India. Total cholesterol levels, that's been the same, 160, LDL less than 70, lower the better, less than 30 is very low. That's how the baby's cholesterol are there when they're born, and that's what you want. The other one is the HDL. For some reason, Indians will have a low HDL, especially if you're smoking and don't walk around, your HDL will be low. That's a big risk factor. Try to focus to make it above 40. And hemoglobin A1C, focus on getting it less than 6. But I can tell you there is data, hemoglobin A1C between 5.5 to 6. You have more coronary events than patients with hemoglobin 5 to 5.5. So the lower the number, better. Keep your goal to be even less than 5.5. And when you're on the medication, if the hemoglobin A1C is around 6, people feel happy, I'm controlled. That's really not true. Go back to Esselstyn's slides. Endothelium gets constantly stimulated with high blood sugars. The endothelium gets thick and fixated, and the endothelium doesn't allow the artery to dilate. So LP small a should be less than 100, even less than 50 is better. So what are the dietary patterns when East meets the West that happens? You can see higher BMI, higher waist circumference, total cholesterol being high. That's in meat-eating diet. Now India has come to almost to the similar meat-eating diet. I hear people eat even meat 2 to 3 times a day, which is really surprising. When I grew up in India in the 90s, I used to be a meat-eating person, but we could afford only to eat meat once a week. But now financially, they're better. They're one of the richest country and food availability. But this is the mid slide is our Indian food. You can see all the samosa, the vada, what we eat, and the pav. This causes the lower levels of HDL, higher rates of diabetes mellitus and metabolic syndrome. So what should we be eating? Lower rates of hypertension and metabolic syndrome, more greens, more lentils, more dal, more greens. Greens are the way to go. And fruits that are healthy, such as apple, kiwi, and berries. So Southeast Asian diet, when the East meets the West, what happens? You can see the topmost portion where there is pizza, fried food, the hamburgers. We think that's not good, but still people, even from India, are trying to focus into those things from Chick-fil-A and McDonald's. But even the bottom one is no good. Eating all those breads, the food made with the paneer, made with ghee and butter. On the right side, all these sweets, they can't be good. If you really need to focus, you got to stay on the vegan part. And most of this can be done with the vegan diet. And Tripathi is the master of getting the examples of how to make delicious foods, but in a vegan style. I just want to take a minute and tell you that Esselstyn's wife, Dr. Esselstyn's wife, is really a champion of writing cookbooks. She has a wonderful cookbook that just got released last month.
Vegan.
It's a vegan book, but also it's not just about vegan book. The minute we say vegan, people will say, oh God, it may not taste well. But she has really delicious recipes, which taste good, which also look good. And I don't know if on the screen you guys can see, this is the book.
It's not, your slides are not showing.
Slides are seen. Continue. Don't worry. Continue. No, don't play start from start. Go to current slide.
Okay. I'm almost done, guys. So that's the book that Dr. Esselstyn's wife has written, and I'm encouraging people, you can look into those things. So the key things, what we can do to help people: tobacco cessation, dietary planning, exercise. Statins can help if you can't take medications, but you need to sit with your doctors and make the plan. And as Dr. Tripathi said, eventually when you change your diet plan, the stress reduction, you can come off the statins. So there is a lot of work done by a couple of physicians, and one of the group is called Saheli, which is Southeast Asian Intervention Trial. These are randomized trial where they educate people that Southeast Asians are twice more risk than the white Americans for heart disease. Also, Southeast Asians can get heart disease irrespective of the age, sex, and body type. Mental health affects the heart disease. What we mean by that is chronic stress, anger are the bad things that can worsen heart disease. Eating your vegetables and fruits lessens the risk. 30 minutes of exercise every day, that can help you. So time to wrap it up. And what I tell my patients is every one of them, they may come for a complex intervention and they may come for a valve replacement, valvular heart disease. I do them all over day and night in Cleveland Clinic. I did the same procedures for 17 years in West Virginia. I even come to India if nobody wants to treat patients. We come and do the procedure so that way it can help family members and friends. But at the same time, this should be the bottom line for all these patients. What we mean is eat before 9 a.m. and eat after 9 a.m. and eat before 6 p.m. We create a time gap between 6 p.m. to morning 9, so that becomes intermittent fasting. Preferably eat 2 meals, no meat, no eggs, no milk, no milk products. Eat mindfully, no screen time while eating, and preferably eat with friends and family. Get at least 6 to 7 hours of sleep. Bedtime by 9:30, wake up by 5:30. People should look up at what is meant by 5:30 waking up. It's called the Brahma Muhurtam. And read up about the 5 a.m. club by people like Robin Sharma from England. He has written why most millennials get up by 5 o'clock. Practice stretching such as yoga daily, at least for 10 minutes. Do exercise for muscle strength training, at least 15 minutes a day. Practice 20 minutes of meditation in the morning and evening. When I tell this to my patients, they say, I don't have time. I'm really a high-functioning CEO. I'm a high-functioning physician. I don't have time. I have to be blunt with them and tell you, either you do it now and prevent heart disease, or you'll have a lot of time recovering in rehab after you have a heart attack. So really, prevention is the key. Increase the social interaction with friends, family, temple, mosque, or church, whatever you believe. Practice mindfulness to be happy with what we have. Be thankful to God and gratitude that we are alive. Do not hate anybody. Don't compare yourself. Be the best. And in the last, do not worry, because stress and getting upset, getting comparison doesn't help anybody. Also, if you involve in helping others and volunteering, I think Dr. Tripathi speaks about it a lot. It'll make you feel better. You get better. So the three main things, if I have to summarize, is eat a low-carb, low-calorie, time-restricted, plant-based diet, more greens, fruits, vegetables, no rice, no wheat, no sweet, no fried foods. Exercise about 150 minutes a week and lower your stress level however way you can. Usually it's helpful to follow a meditation track. In the interest of the time, I'll stop.
Thank you, Dr. Aravinda. So we get a variety of talk happening, one from Dr. Esselstyn and from you, kind of getting a feel of both of the best, East and the West, and where they both meet actually right now in the US. Again, in the interest of time, after the insights of Dr. Caldwell, we've listened to insights from Dr. Aravinda. We can take a couple of questions, I think, and there's one interesting question which is for Dr. Caldwell by Richa Kapadia. She's asking for Dr. Caldwell So many Indians who are lacto-vegetarian get heart attacks. Why is what Richa is asking. And Dr. Caldwell, we were discussing, you had mentioned that you actually traveled the length and breadth of the country. You are very familiar with India and the eating pattern over here. So it'll be great to hear your views on this question. The question is, why do so many Indians who are lacto-vegetarians get heart attacks? So yes, Dr. Caldwell.
Well, I was in India in 2000 for about 3 weeks, and I had an opportunity to make presentations at Pondicherry and Calcutta and Mumbai and Hyderabad and Calcutta and New Delhi. And it was really quite striking to me. The diet in India had so much of the wrong things. They are heavily eating oil. They're also eating ghee. And there are a lot of them that were eating meat. So there's really, in other words, when you build the foundation for heart disease and you take the foods that are going to injure the endothelial capacity to make nitric oxide, it was no great surprise that there's this epidemic of cardiovascular disease.
Great. Thank you. I think Dr. Aravinda did mention about it. Dr. Aravinda, you want to speak a little bit on this?
Dr. Tripathi, I can answer that. So lacto-vegetarian means you are allowed to take any milk and milk products. So basically, we used to think milk is amrut, right? So people used to say you got to drink more milk, get more exercise. And in the US, they would put a mustache to you to say that if you drink milk, you're a real man. However, the truth is milk is very inflammatory. Milk, when the cow gives the birth to the child, to the baby calf, that milk is meant for the calf to drink the milk and go from 20 pounds to 200 pounds. But we as human beings consume that cow, and we are trying to get into the 200 pounds. So the reason why it's dangerous and why when it's okay is first 2 years of the life, the brain neurodevelopment is needed, where you need rich saturated fatty acids, which comes from the cow's milk. It's okay to consume for the first 2 years, but after the first 2 years of the life, there's absolutely no benefit. And even in the first 2 years of the life, if mother gives the milk to the child, to the baby for 1 to 1.5 years, and then feeds off, the data has shown even that first 2 years of milk, cow's milk is not needed. It's been imbibed in us. It's been ingrained in us. It's very hard to take it off. And I hate to say this, but the milk industry is a mafia in India too, because it's the highest producer of the milk in the world. We talk the talk saying that meat is bad, worship the cow. But guess what? Who is the highest exporter as of last year? We exceeded Argentina in meat exposure. That meat I'm talking about is beef. So we really do not talk the talk, what we do, nor walk the path. I'm not trying to shame Indians, and now I'm as proud Indian as anybody else. But the things we do, like Dr. Esselstyn mentioned, is not a good thing of drinking milk and milk products. The next thing they tell me is I don't drink milk. And then you see the diet, it's paneer, it's cheese, butter, ghee. When we say milk products, all of this count. There's a lot of alternatives to it. You can drink almond milk, you can drink coconut milk, you can get the plant-based cheeses, what you want, plant-based butter. They are healthy, use that. And when you need some taste, maybe some apple cider vinegar or something, those things help. So even if you use a lacto-vegetarian diet, you can get high risk of heart disease because milk is potentially very inflammatory.
Great. Thanks, Dr. Aravinda. One more quick question. Calcium score is the leading diagnosis done in the USA. How does it correlate? Is asking Raju.
That's a really good question. It's also very, very big in India because calcium score costs you to do for very less price, less than $2. You can get a calcium score done. Basically, what it is you remember the slide Dr. Esselstyn showed, there is a plaque and a narrowing. When the artery starts to narrow, the body responds to protect that plaque so the plaque does not rupture. How does it protect? It starts to deposit calcification. That calcification does not come from the diet we eat. It doesn't come from the calcium supplements you take. This is calcium that's formed from the excess of fat and cholesterol. So when the calcium deposits, you can pick it up on a CT scan, how much calcium is there. So the largest study that was done was called MESA, M-E-S-A, by United States about atherosclerotic risk factor. You have a calcium score, men or women, less than 30, it's okay. The power of 0 is 0. You have a 0 calcium score, it's very good. Rarely you can have a fibrotic disease that without calcification, you can find a heart attack then now and then, but very rare. But more the calcification, more is your heart disease risk. And the only factor with that calcium score is when you see a high calcium score, it means that you may have some blockages. It doesn't say how severe, it doesn't say how many. So when you see calcium score, get to the risk factor reduction. What do we mean by that? Exercise, diet, and sometimes some people, if they can't do those two, they may need the cholesterol medications. See your doctor and get it. At the worst scenario, if the calcium score is way high, like 4,000, 5,000, I would say maybe get a stress test to see where do you fall. Like, do you have a high-risk stress test or not? But do not run and get heart catheterizations done and don't get further workup like getting a bypass, because one quick sentence I'll stop here is fixing blockages or a bypass does not prevent you from having a stroke or a heart attack. It does not prolong your lifestyle. It doesn't prolong your lifespan. Only thing is it relieves your symptoms. That means your chest pain, shortness of breath, I can relieve it. That is in a chronic setting. In an acute setting, today we have a heart attack. Yes, we go and open the blockage. That is life-saving. But I'm talking about the ones which are walking around and they go to the doctor's office, they get whisked off to the cath lab. There's no absolute benefit of that. It's very hard for the patients to understand, but when we find the disease, work on the risk factor reduction. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Aravinda. One last one before we close. We already overshot the time, and that's from Amit Gupta to Dr. Caldwell. A little amount of extra virgin olive oil, will that be okay if we are healthy?
Well, now let's review what I had to say. If we understand that the disease is the result of an injury to the endothelial lining of the artery to make this magic molecule of nitric oxide, and nitric oxide is what protects us. So anybody, remember when I spoke about the autopsy studies that were done of young women and men between the ages of 17 and 34 who had died of accidents, homicides, and suicides. The disease already is established there. So if you have somebody who has a brain in their head who understands that the reason they have this disease is because they have destroyed their endothelial capacity to make nitric oxide, why would you want on a regular basis have a small amount of olive oil every day that is going to further injure an already train wrecked endothelium? It makes no sense to me. That's really something I can't accept. No, and what that person is doing is every day destroying further endothelial cells.
Great. Thank you so much. Any parting message for our lovely FFDNs who are watching the show? There are literally thousands of them by now who are listening to you, and you've seen the awards. You've seen the pain they've taken for the entire year. It's Muktotsav. It's a celebration of freedom for them, for all the good efforts they've taken, and they'll be taking some more learnings from your talk. So any parting messages, Dr. Caldwell, for them?
I wrote, yes, but I wrote a paper that was published in the International Journal of Disease Reversal and Prevention that was entitled, "Is Oil Healthy?" And I review all the animal studies and the human studies showing how oil injures the endothelial cells. But my final remarks for this wonderful audience would be, I think there is a seismic revolution in health that is in front of us. And this seismic revolution in health that is going to happen is not going to come about because of another drug or another stent or another bypass. But the seismic revolution in health will come about when we in the profession have the will and the grit and the determination to share with the public what is the lifestyle, and most specifically, what is the nutritional literacy that will empower these individuals literally to annihilate chronic illness.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. Anything else you wanted to just add? That's it? Okay. Over to you, Duriya, for the closure and the vote of thanks. And I would request both the doctors to just stay online for a while to meet and interact with all our 180 plus FFDNs who are keen to interact with you for a few minutes. So over to you, Duriya. Please go ahead.
Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Esselstyn, as well as Dr. Aravinda, for those very beautiful insights about how diet and lifestyle changes can help to prevent and even to some extent reverse the changes that have happened and at the cardiac level. And I think here at Freedom from Diabetes, one of our core engine is, first of all, educating people, creating that awareness, giving them motivation and support, inspiring them to help them to make these changes, and of course, supporting them on their journey by a strong team of experts at different levels of diet, exercise, doctors, and inner transformation. So some phenomenal work happening here also at Freedom from Diabetes, and phenomenal numbers of freedom champions. And this whole festival is to celebrate such freedom, instill hope in the people that something like this is possible, and spur them into action that, yes, a life 2.0, which is fuller, footer, as well as freer, and pushing them to, yes, a freedom from diabetes is possible. Freedom is within. And I can, I will, I did is the success mantra of all of them. So thank you once again for reinstilling our ideology, our work, and supporting us, and for all your insights about that. Thank you so much. We also would like to thank all the wonderful people, thousands of them, who have joined us live right now from across the country, across the world, to partake in this Festival of Freedom. And there is a strong team that has been working relentlessly over the past few months, and I would take this opportunity to express our gratitude to them. Dr. Nandi and the entire research team who has been working with each participant. We have Tanmay and the entire diet experts team. We have our digital media marketing team, which includes Rajeshi, who's been helping us out with all the presentations over the few days, and Dalmindra, who's put together the Muktotsav video. Our team of doctors, exercise experts, diet experts, and inner transformation experts who have been working very closely with the participants in the entire duration over the last 6 months. And of course, our back-end team, the operations team, the monitors, sales team, and a special thank you to the mentors for being there to guide and support the participants on their journey towards freedom, the WhatsApp group managers, and of course, the club members who are enthusiastically supporting the entire community. And the past participants, I think we are eternally grateful to you, for you have been a well-wisher of the movement, spreading it further to people all over the country, all over the world. And of course, once again, a hearty congratulations to all the award winners who took out time to educate themselves, to get inspired and inspire many more, and who have worked diligently to create the magic together with the mantra, as I said, I can, I will, and I did. Well, I hope this event has helped to instill the hope that reversal, freedom, remission, and transformation is possible, and regain health, enjoy freedom, and achieve the unthinkable, scale the peaks of health and fitness, because you deserve to. Well, we come to the end of the day 2 of Muktotsav 2022, and we shall be seeing you all in person, meeting you offline for the 3rd phase of the Muktotsav, which we shall be celebrating on the 18th of December in Pune at the Kaveri Auditorium, Erindam, from 10:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. Registrations are mandatory, but this festival is open to everybody who would like to partake. You need not just be an IGT or GTT person. You can, anybody is welcome, but you need to register. We have only limited seats of 500, so make sure you register, whether on the group chat or we have a link being put up on the YouTube chat right now. And there's going to be some intense soaking of energies there, from drumming to meditation to songs to talks. We have luminaries coming and attending that, and just connecting and feeling this energy that will happen live in person on the 18th of December.
Yeah.
So would you like to say something?
It's a free of charge event for FFDNs to celebrate this particular gathering after 1 year of hard work, and the heart connect which happens on that day, the meditation, there's going to be drumming and meditation together, will be something that you would like to savor for the entire year. So thank you all, especially those who are the award winners. We'll continue to have the awards next year. Looking forward for 500 plus passing glucose tolerance test next year. And just keep up the good work, everyone, as we say adios and bye-bye for now until we meet again next year. So thank you and bye-bye to all. Dr. Caldwell and Dr. Aravinda, please stay back in the back room as